A challenge we have, I think, for 2025 is really to push back for self-custodial, for privacy. And so they actually need to do the proof of work and not just use the BlackRock ETF or buy a share in MicroStrategy.
They will be responsive to this messaging of Bitcoin as a store of value that will be pushed by the ETF, etc. This exposure might not be to Bitcoin itself initially, and that maybe they need the cycle to start understanding what Bitcoin is all about.
It's our job to hammer them, literally hammer them in their mind with every chance we have to go on television, podcast, anywhere to say, not your key, not your coin. It's so strong. It is the strongest slogan Bitcoin has. 21 million is number go up. The other side is not your key, not your coin. Those two things fight each other.
Tell us about those relationships you're forging with the universities.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the University of Taipei in Taiwan. We have Don Bosco in El Salvador. We've started a master in the Polytechnic of Turin. And we are also working closely with the University of Lugano.
Rogzy, great to have you again on the Bitcoin Roundtable. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me, Jacques.
Look, today I wanted to pick your brains on Bitcoin pedagogy. I wanted to get your thoughts on Bitcoin education and what is a very rapidly changing landscape, and sort of get a glimpse of the strategy you have at Plan B Network to overcome the obstacles that we keep stumbling upon as Bitcoin educators, that sort of thing. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, for sure. Let's go.
Yeah. So perhaps for those who might not know you too well, I thought it'd be good to provide them a bit of background information on you and also on your current job. So what I'd like to say is that when I discovered you, and it was probably 6-7 years ago, I saw you as this somewhat crazy guy digging frenetically the Bitcoin rabbit hole and sharing Bitcoin knowledge and ethos around you. And you were sort of doing that night and day, really. And one thing that really struck my attention was your capacity to surround yourself with the best expert in the Francophone landscape to really, I think, propagate high fidelity signal. One thing you're very strong at, again, is to sort of mobilize and federate the energies and resources who want to do some work on Bitcoin. So you've done that very well in France. And now what we understand is that for 1 year, is that 1 year that you started this job at Plan B?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's been 1 year that you're sort of, scaling out this work, this federating all the educators, all the people who want to support Bitcoin development, and your task really is to build a global education infrastructure to onboard literally millions of people, tens of millions. I've heard you say hundreds of millions of newcomers in the years to come, which in reality can sound a bit ambitious, maybe overly ambitious as a goal. And the vision of Plan B sometimes can seem a little bit crazy, even for us Bitcoiners. But the truth is, I think you have a very strong rationale in the sense that we've got plenty objective good reason to prepare for massive waves of adoption in the coming years, right? So that being said, the job you have, Plan B's network mission, remains a difficult mission. Can you tell us what in 2025 are going to be the main challenges that we're facing collectively regarding Bitcoin education, and how Plan B Network is well positioned to address them?
Sure, thanks, Zach. So yeah, indeed, the educational landscape over the years have changed quite a lot, mostly by the coming of institution, regulators, and more high-profile people. Let's say, well, in the past, we were very focused on the plebs, the general average person. Nowadays, we realize that a lot of the effort in general for education goes to very niche, specific people. The issue with that is that often we deless the masses. And why I'm going for that explanation is basically that I feel that in the future, people will not use Bitcoin the right way. They will use custodial ETF solution because the people that discover Bitcoin right now are institutions that would sell those services and Bitcoin to the masses, which are the people that didn't care so much about Bitcoin for the past 6-7 years. And so a challenge we have, I think, for 2025 is really to push back for self-custodial, to really push back for privacy, and really explain to people that Bitcoin is, first of all, a tool of freedom, of sovereignty. And so they actually need to do the proof of work and not just use the BlackRock ETF or buy a share in MicroStrategy. And the more and more the narrative will go towards reserve of value, a store of value, it will go to, oh, it's for big banks and I can buy through them, it's easier. The more and more we will get adoption, but it's not the adoption that we as Bitcoiners wanted. So a big challenge will be to really continue to fight for that grassroots movement of Bitcoin is also for payment with Lightning Network. You need to have your key. You should not trust those people. And to do that, I think the only solution will be local mouth to mouth. The same way Bitcoin has worked forever.
Okay.
It has to be the Bitcoiner in its small town in the UK explaining at his local pub, at his local high school, at his local church to others that if you want Bitcoin, get your key. And I really think that 2025 and 2026 for us will be the year of ready to teach curriculum. We want to ease the process for someone to teach Bitcoin. So right now, what we did in the past with Plan B Network was to have really easy, accessible, free, online in multiple language courses to follow. So it's like we give you a way to learn. But I think what we need to focus on now is a way for Bitcoiners to teach others. And that will be so much more efficient, simply because they will trust their friends more than they can trust us. And once they did the basics, they can come learn in-depth advanced topics through the platform.
Okay, so what you're saying basically is that you've prepared for this upcoming mass adoption of Bitcoin. You've sensed probably in the past few months an inflection point whereby the mainstream narrative about Bitcoin is changing quite dramatically, favorably, as a result of the adoption, the approval of the ETF, as a result also of the announcements of the Trump administration, which is very bullish for Bitcoin. So you see that in the coming months, in 2025, chances are that people will be attracted. They will want to get an exposure to Bitcoin. What you're saying is that as Bitcoiner, we're sort of very happy to see that happening. We should keep in mind that we have a longer time horizon, and what's important is to convert as many adopter as a real Bitcoiner who's doing his own self-custody, right?
Yeah, exactly. We know that Bitcoin goes as circles, even though people would believe that there is like an hyper-cycle, it's never going to go down because of reason. No, the truth is that we're going to continue to do circles. And so we know that at every cycles, we will get a lot of people hyped into Bitcoin and a lot of people will exit Bitcoin. And the more we go, the biggest those circles are going to be number-wise. So in the past, we could get maybe 10 million new person into Bitcoin worldwide. Mm-hmm. This circle, we may get 100 million people into Bitcoin within like a very short frame of time. So the infrastructure that has been built by all the exchange, the wallet provider, the services, the ETF, all over for that scalability. Education, we do try to scale it at the same time, but education usually have less funding, less revenue share, and it's harder to provide good services at a scalable level. So what I'm afraid is that if we have 100 million people that join the network, let's say in 6 months frame, are they going to be well educated? Probably not.
Where are they going?
Yes, they will be able to buy Bitcoin easily, but they will not understand that they are buying the wrong Bitcoin because it's an ETF Bitcoin, or that they should have taken custodial of their key in a smart way, in a good way. And that will be, I think, the flexing point that is difficult, is teaching them. And then probably when the hype will go down, most people will stop or forget, but they will continue to get educated slowly by slowly, and hopefully they can become Bitcoiners during the bear market to help us raise the next bar, we would be billion of people at once.
That's it. So those tens, hundreds million of retail new adopter is something that you really believe is going to happen in the coming year, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's happening. Like the price went up, and simply the logic behind that is that people are jealous of their friends, and so they look at the people that got Bitcoin in their friends and family and say like, okay, where did you got money? I don't understand. And that person explained again, well, I told you it was like 21 million Bitcoin. It's the new technology. It's going to give you more freedom. It's going to change the world. And so slowly by slowly, the fact that Bitcoin has been here for 15 years. Like I cannot even believe it. It's 15 years or 16 years old now, Bitcoin. It's not a kids anymore. Like it's almost a grown up. Like he wants to get outside of his parents, and Bitcoiners are their parents, and he wants to do like everything now. And so everyone is looking at him. So the price went up. Bitcoin is still here. People talk for political campaign. So the brand Bitcoin has never been as strong. So obviously when the price go up, everyone is like, damn, it's still here. Maybe this time I should like get in.
Right.
Because it's been so easy to get in recently, thanks to better infrastructure financially, they will get in. Because it's just one click now. It's not a complex procedure.
So 2025 is likely to be a year which is going to be fairly chaotic on the markets, generally speaking, with much volatility, and people's probably going to be hit by inflation or difficult adverse economic circumstances again. So just because they're going to have to fight this difficult economic time, they will be seduced. They will be responsive to this messaging of Bitcoin as a store of value that will be pushed by the ETF, etc. What you're saying is that there's also this mimetic desire. People want to do like you. They want to get exposure to Bitcoin because the neighbor is doing well. What you're saying is that this exposure might not be to Bitcoin itself initially, and that maybe they need a cycle to start understanding what Bitcoin is all about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like there will be a big fracture in the normal world between pro-Bitcoin and against Bitcoin, because sadly Bitcoin is now being more and more associated to Trump and Musk. So people that are radically against will not want to get exposed. The same way that in El Salvador, when it was like Bukele pushing for Bitcoin, the people against Bukele just refused to use it. So Bitcoin will become a political tool, regardless what you believe. And if you're like let's say a person more from the left in Europe, a kind of woke, well, we will say on one side, Putin is using Bitcoin to go against censored, and we don't like Putin. And at the same time, Trump is buying Bitcoin, and we don't like Trump. So you have both reasons to hate Bitcoin. And so I say that there will be a big fracture between the people that want to understand Bitcoin and people that just refuse categorically to learn. That is just like, okay, we just remove one person, like one side of the equation. They will just not get into Bitcoin. The other side will say, okay, I want to get Bitcoin, and they will just get exposure to Bitcoin. And it's our job to hammer them, literally hammer them in their mind with every chance we have to go on television, podcast, anywhere to say, not your key, not your coin. I think Andreas, when he created the not your key, not your coin, or maybe it's someone else before, but it's so strong. It is the strongest slogan Bitcoin has. 21 million is number go up. The other side is not your key, not your coin. Those two things fight each other. And if everyone get their key, we are good. But I feel that when the number go up, no one really care. And it's only when it slows down, when you have time to focus on the fundamental, when you want to realize that maybe your money is not safe in the bank account, you will take control of your coins. And what's important to understand for everyone is that there will be a time frame where that is still possible. But I fear that in the long run, the time frame will end. And the government, the institution, the bankers will slowly by slowly realize that not your key, not your coin is very dangerous for them.
That's it.
Because it gives the individual the power to own their money and send it more or less anonymously or put them in mixers and stuff like that. So they will say, you can continue to have Bitcoin because number go up, but the Bitcoin is owned by our internal network and you can send it only to like partners, which would be the end of Bitcoin, because it will not be freedom, right? The network will continue to grow around it, but the people will be trapped into a golden cage. And that is more and more and more close to reality. It's going to take some years because they don't fully understand yet, or they need like to make every other politician understand and regulator, and they need to draft the law, and the people hopefully can fight for their rights. But it will come to a degree and to a point where you will not be able to withdraw, and it's not going to be okay.
Yeah, it's like, if I think about it, it seems to me like the boomer generation who still have most of the wealth, and the Gen X, I mean, the late Gen X may find it difficult to learn about self-custody for cognitive reason, and just maybe for laziness. But there are some good reasons why self-custody might not be the best option for them. But so your focus is probably on really educating strongly the younger generations. And you were alluding to the importance of teaching curriculums as much as the journey of the Bitcoiner, the hero's journey of the Bitcoiner, where you need to learn the hard way. There's no shortcut. You're going to get wrecked one day before you realize the importance of self-custody. We have this dynamic at play, but at the same time, you need to have a very well-designed curriculum, and that's your job. And if I understand well, you're starting to build partnership with universities. It seems like the academia is finally getting it, that it's not just blockchain, not Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin, not blockchain, they have to pay more and more attention to, right? Tell us about those relationships you're forging with the universities.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's still going slow because university is it's a backbone ship. Like when it turns, it takes some time to turn. They were also very slowed down by the exact narrative of crypto, not blockchain, crypto. So basically, first, they didn't want to care about Bitcoin because it was just too niche, not important. You can do cryptography, you can do distributed ledger, but we don't really care about Bitcoin or crypto. Then people hammered them that they should do some things. So they started to do crypto because it was bigger, broader, safer than only doing Bitcoin. The issue is that crypto was scams. And so now they feel like shit, like they feel stupid because they feel like they spend time, energy, reputation on something that is scammy. So the next time you go to talk to them and say, hey, you should do something about Bitcoin, they will tell us, yeah, no, we already did crypto, it didn't go well. And we're like, yeah, it didn't go well because you did crypto, you should have done Bitcoin. We tell you to do only Bitcoin. And so the ego kick in, and so they need to have the strength to go again with the new curriculum in general and build up something new, focus only on Bitcoin, understand why, have the director to understand why, etc. So politically wise, in my opinion, worldwide, I find that it's taking some time due to that scar that they had or they have. Now, we do have like really good partnership with universities that are pro-Bitcoin and really want to move forward. We have the University of Taipei in Taiwan. We have Don Bosco in El Salvador. We've started a master in the Polytechnic of Turin. And we are also working closely with the University of Lugano. What we do for them is help them get a Bitcoin strategy, whether it's from creating a research lab in Taiwan regarding liquid, and so blockstream services, whether it's to create a master, literally a Bitcoin master for Turin, or whether it's to give very often workshop classes, multiple months classes with credit for maybe Don Bosco and Lugano. So it's always like kind of on the card because it's hard to coordinate all of them. So we provide them curriculum that we believe can be taught. We provide them with lectures, workshop, teachers to come and give classes. In addition, what we realize works really well is, and to be honest, for me, the most efficient, is students' university network. We try to get as many Bitcoin association within the university students network.
Right. Okay.
Because that is easy. That is one Bitcoiner that is passionate about Bitcoin, so it's already a maxi most of the time, that simply like apply to create an association for his campus, for his university. Often that person will have like 1 or 2 years still active. He will host sessions, workshop, lectures. He will be able to bring guests at the university, have room access, and it will create like a small collective of passionate Bitcoiners inside his university to do hackathon or stuff. And from there, basically, if it goes well, when that leader leaves the university, someone else will take his job as president of that association, and the association will keep on running, doing more workshops, more classes. And more often than not, when there is that type of community student-based network, it really is the process for us to then do something big, or simply for students to get interested. Because again, it's the youth talking to the youth.
Yeah.
People that are interested in Bitcoin, that learn about Bitcoin and then want to do like career in Bitcoin, get a job, get an internship in a Bitcoin company. It's way more easier to do that than targeting the Dan of the university or the professor of economics or anyone else in the school.
Yeah, those guys' decision may affect their career or their reputation, whereas grassroots dynamics, as we've experienced them, as we've learned through them in Meetup and etc., they build a lot of trust, a lot of creativity. And so what you're suggesting is any local meetup or any who has a connection with a university or any students can get in touch with you, start maybe building some sort of Bitcoin initiative in the campus, and then gradually you can provide them. How do you support them, and how do you have some sort of process then when the university is interested in engaging a conversation with you and exploring the possibility of developing an educational offer and a structured educational offer? Do you have some way of talking to them? And
so I think it's two different things. The students, it's usually coming from let's say the heart of the students. It's because they want to share their passions. So they will set up the association. We don't really have anything to do with that. We can try to support them if they want, but mostly what we will give them is ready to teach classes, workshop ideas and guidelines. If they do something big, we can bring a guest lecture. We can try to connect them with our teachers. We can support them on like events that happen like on a yearly basis or twice a year, like TED Talk, type lectures, stuff like that. Translations of all of our content for them to distribute. If they are really, really dedicated, we could even like consider to create like a course with them. So for example, we did the mining school in Lugano at the university. So it was a very advanced classes on how to work in the mining industry, right? So that we did at the university because they gave us the room. So the students of the university had privileged access to that class. So those type of solution is easy to set in motion, or at least it can be set in motion. Mm-hmm. If you want to really do a master degree in your university, I'm going to be quite honest, it becomes political. Basically, at that point, it's most likely someone in the city, someone in the country that wants to push Bitcoin. And so it becomes like almost political. It's like, I want my country to be Bitcoin nation, so my university need to know about Bitcoin. It's the president telling to the Minister of Education, do Bitcoin, and the Minister of Education will talk to all the leaders of university saying, hey guys, you have to do Bitcoin. So basically, those guys have no mandate. They are forced in a way to do Bitcoin stuff. So when we arrive and we say, hey, we do Bitcoin education, they're like, okay, do whatever you want, but do something. Mm-hmm. And so we can just work. It's super easy. Yeah. That is, for example, El Salvador. It's the same in another city. If the country, the government is pro-innovation, the university will be pro-innovation. So we don't have a bottleneck and they give us a lot of freedom. Well, if you go to France and you say, oh, hey, Polytechnic, I'd like to do a Bitcoin classes. They're going to be like, why would you do a Bitcoin classes? We don't care about Bitcoin. And if someone were to do a Bitcoin class at Polytechnic, it would be, well, it's probably Yorick. But Yorick is a French Bitcoiner that is
high caliber
French Bitcoiner that could do it. But basically, if we don't have Yorick, no one will do it because they would say, oh, no, we want one of our friends. We're not going to do Bitcoin. We're going to do blockchain. And actually, it's not going to be blockchain. It's going to be why the European Union is building a European coin. How can we frame the new ECBD, like the European Central Bank cryptocurrency? Yeah. So it will never be Bitcoin. It will be whatever the political landscape wants. And in Europe, or at least in France, it will be European-based cryptocurrency. not
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
So what you're saying is that in many countries, as in France, most academic institutions are still so mainstream and so dependent on the system that they're not going to promote any topics such as Bitcoin, which is very transgressive, subversive, and whatever happens is most likely to be the result of a bottom-up process whereby the students are imposing this topic in the university, because whether you like it or not, whether you're supporting it, whether you're taking any career risk or not, we want to do it because we know it's important for the future, right?
Exactly. Like I think the career risk is something really big that is affecting us in education, is that they will not take that risk. And it's always the same. In El Salvador, if they don't do Bitcoin, it is a career risk because the country is pro-Bitcoin. So they have to do Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So do not screw the career. They will do Bitcoin. But the same way in France, because it's so against Bitcoin, they will not touch Bitcoin because reputation risk. And we saw that shift perfectly in the US. The US was okay Bitcoin, no Bitcoin, and now it's full on go Bitcoin, basically. And since Trump has been elected or like has been chosen, we see that a lot of university suddenly wants to do Bitcoin things because they got the go. They have the authorization to do Bitcoin stuff from the top down. Even though if it's not like Trump telling them do education, it's like, okay, we can do it. We have no risk of being fired because no one can tell us not to do it. The president is doing it. And it's really connected to the top down. And as you mentioned, the only solution to fight a non-top down voluntary approach, so like in France, you cannot do top down, is bottom up. It's communities that push locally, local newspaper, not national one. It's the pub, it's the church, it's a high school. That is the only way because it is.
Okay, well, Rogzy, that's interesting. Do you have any other point you want to share with the audience in relation to Bitcoin pedagogy or whatever issue you want to share at the moment?
No, I will say continue to learn and question what you hear on the media. Again, understand that you want to put Bitcoin in your portfolio in the easy way. Understand that you fear that paying taxes, you will have more taxes if you hold it custodially than none. We saw that in Italy, for example. In Italy, if you hold Bitcoins through a contract, through a bank, you are taxed basically only 20 or 30%. I don't know, but like basically the same as a stock. Well, if you hold it as like self-custodial, you are taxed like 50%. So basically what the government is doing now is fighting Bitcoin custodial, the not your key, not your coin, by increasing taxes if you hold your Bitcoin compared to a contract. It's really sneaky.
Oh yeah, it is.
So I would say continue to learn and fight and understand why they are doing that.
Yeah.
And the why they are doing that is basically because Bitcoin gives you freedom. So focus more on the freedom and start a local meetup, start a local community, go teach your church, go teach your high school, go teach your gym. Even if it's just saying, hey guys, like I will do a workshop in that pub at 6 p.m. on Friday night. Come and join us. That's enough. That is enough to change the world.
Yeah. And do come and visit Plan B Network. I mean, it's fairly amazing the amount of work you've been doing in the past few months. The number of courses has increased tremendously, and it's being translated in more and more languages. So I'm pretty sure if you pay a visit to Plan B Network, you'll find the content that resonates with your needs of the moment. So yeah, again, Rogzy, many thanks for your time, for this information. Wish you all the success for 2025 to you and to the whole team for this very important year. Bye-bye, Rogzy.
Thank you. Bye.